Good morning, everybody. It is 7:40 right now. Welcome back to Iowa Live. Lou and Michelle here, and look who is joining us in the living room right now. Michelle.
That's right. We came to visit you on Friday.
That was a
You're
fun.
here today.
That was a fun morning.
Yeah,
That was a
great.
riot.
And great information as always. Which is
We were able to talk about so many different topics, and that hour just flew by. So it was a pleasure to have you there, Lou.
Well, and it was cool being there. And one of the things, we went and we visited with you on Thursday, which was really cool. And then people realized that we talked about a topic that was, a little sensitive for some, talking about the coronavirus that is hitting the world right now and how it affected stocks and how it affected the financial footprint of things happening globally. And we touched on that a little bit on Thursday. Let's talk a little bit about that first.
Well, yeah, because the impact that it had on the stock market, the S&P 500 was down over 12% last week alone. So it was a major downturn. And for the younger generation, 30, 40 years old, it wasn't that big of a deal from them from a portfolio standpoint. But there's a large percentage of this population, 10,000 people retiring every single day. And it's those 10,000 people that want to retire every single day that it really can have a negative impact. 12% one week, but what they're wondering is how far is it going to go?
Right.
What is coming next? Now, we anticipated that this year was going to be more volatile in the market for a lot of different reasons. Nobody can predict the coronavirus, but from a pre-retiree to retiree standpoint, the most important aspect is that your portfolio is ready for more volatility. Now, here's the good news. Here's the silver lining out of all this. I think that the markets are going to rebound within a relatively short period of time. So even if your portfolio reacted very similar to the market, it doesn't mean that you need to have a knee-jerk reaction and start making big transactions within your portfolio.
stick with it.
It may not be a bad idea. Now, of course, talk to your planner.
Right.
But it may not be a bad idea to hang in there a little bit.
I'll say just hang on for the ride is what it sounds like.
Allow it to come back up. And then I think you're going to have another opportunity to do something once the markets come back up to make sure that next time this year that the markets go down, your portfolio doesn't react that way. And that's what the planning is all about. All
right. Yeah, it was just very insightful when we talked, and then we saw what the numbers did later on that afternoon. The timing was perfect, for giving your insight. So thank you for that on behalf of two different people that I ran into over the weekend alone.
Well, I appreciate you stopping by the office.
And today we want to kind of focus on women in retirement because there's a little bit different strategy with that. And we have Anna Marie Morrow, who's the Director of Healthcare and Medicare over there at Merkle Retirement Planning. Thank you for joining us here this morning. And we're kind of focusing on health and long-term care for women, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So women are outliving men these days and have been for a while. So Morningstar actually released some statistics recently that showed 58% of women over the age of 65 will need long-term care sometime throughout their lifetime, as opposed to men, which is only 47%.
Oh, that much of a difference?
That much of a difference.
Wow. Well, I didn't expect to hear that.
Yeah, and the average number of years women will need that long-term care is 2.5 years, as opposed to men. That's 1.5 years. So it's definitely a conversation that women need to be having. As difficult of a subject as it can be, it's something that we need to talk about.
We were talking to somebody, one of our family members, not that long ago, and she was telling us she visited this home, assisted living home, and there was over 100 people in this home. Only one was a man.
No way.
Everybody else was female.
Really?
But that's just the state of.
What a lucky guy that is.
Or you can look at that both ways.
Right. Look at the positive here, Lauren.
That's right. We're optimistic, right?
Yeah, exactly. But that is the reality of the situation, isn't it?
It's the reality of the situation. On average, women outlive men by 2.5 years. And Michelle, as we were talking prior to coming on this segment, it's the last 2.5 years that typically cost the most, largely due to the healthcare costs that usually creep in.
And a lot of times it's a little bit more difficult for ladies to have their finances in line to be able to cover that, and that's where you come in play.
Yeah, there's different options available. I mean, if you look at just a basic long-term care policy that you may have purchased years ago, are you paying the same premiums? Probably not. They've probably skyrocketed. And then, a lot of the case, you might not even need to use long-term care. So then all those premiums, all that money is gone from all those years.
Right.
So we look at different strategies where hybrid solutions come into play, where if you do need long-term care, you lose 2 of the 6 daily living activities, the policy becomes activated, and you have control over the money that you take out of that policy. Let's say you have a $200,000 policy, you'll get $40,000 a year to put towards long-term care. But then let's say you don't need the long-term care. Well, it's also a life insurance policy, but there's a legacy planning component that goes into it as well. So that's just one strategy, but there are different solutions out there if you're able to meet with a planner and figure out what is the best fit for you.
Okay, let's maybe talk about a couple more strategies that we can put into place to help us.
Sure. So health savings accounts.
Yeah,
that
a lot
is
of people
something huge.
they have questions about the health savings account, the HSAs. Is
Yeah,
what we're
that's-
talking about.
that's
And
gaining immense
are you
popularity.
pro or con?
Definitely pro.
Definitely pro. Why so?
It's gaining huge popularity from the standpoint that it's unlike any other bucket because of the triple tax advantage.
Okay. Okay.
So much like a tax-deferred IRA, any contributions made
Okay.
go in tax-free, and then it grows tax-free, and then when you spend those monies on qualified medical expenses, the monies come out tax-free. So it's a great, powerful vehicle when planning for growing healthcare costs going into retirement.
That HSA is one of the most powerful tax advantaged accounts you can because of the fact that it's tax deductible on the way in and is tax free on the way out as long as you spend it on qualified Medicare expenses. And one of the strategies that oftentimes works well for pre-retirees and retirees, they're at the pre-retirees anywhere at their top wage earning years.
That's true, yeah.
So if you can contribute to this HSA and don't use it while you're working, save it, allow it to compound tax free, and just pay for medical expenses if you can out of your earnings. Then when you retire, you're going to have this bucket of tax-free money that you can now use, because in retirement, as we know, we're going to need to have healthcare expenses, which then
Okay,
you
so
can use the
let's just
HSA.
clarify something here. I want to make sure that people realize what you're talking about, because the light bulb just went off in my head just now.
I love it.
We're not talking about the HSAs that you might have set up with your employer, where you put money into it and then you have to use it before the end of the year, and if you don't use it, you lose it. Okay, this is something you put in with the specific purpose of long term.
This is a great clarification. The
Okay.
HSAs are used with high deductible healthcare plans, mostly through employer plans.
Right.
So what you were talking about there is the old flexible spending accounts,
Right.
where if you didn't use it, you lost it by the
That's
end
what
of
I'm
the year.
talking about. Yeah, exactly.
These HSAs are much better than that because you don't have to use it by the end of the year. In fact, if you pass away, if you're 90 years old, you still have money in the HSA, then it can go to a beneficiary.
Wow.
And that's what makes this strategy so powerful. If you don't spend it while you're working and earning money, you save it, allow it to compound tax-free. Now in retirement, when you don't have the earned income coming in, you can use it for qualified expenses, and it can help from a budgeting standpoint.
Are you seeing a higher percentage of women coming in and getting more engaged with these different strategies in their retirement planning?
Absolutely, especially the class we teach women in retirement once a month around the metro. Women are coming to these classes and we hear so much at the end of it. I didn't know that. I didn't, you don't know what you don't know. So women are getting excited, and it's kind of
empowering.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's this
Very
empowering
empowering.
feeling we have at the end of it, where women are excited and they have this confidence going into retirement and facing life, the unknown of knowing that they could outlive their spouse, or they're doing it on their own for a while. It's more of an empowering environment that they're really getting excited about.
It's a really cool feeling, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, especially on both sides. So I think, Lauren, we experienced that last week because I was getting excited talking to Lauren about retirement. And who'd ever thunk that would be the case? Yeah.
A lot of people don't like talking about it initially because there's so much to it, it creates anxiety.
Yeah,
But once you start
exactly.
getting into it and you see what your
reining it
retirement
in.
vision actually looks like, and you can see how you can afford it, then it becomes a lot more exciting.
No question.
And that educational component is huge in this process. And you'd mentioned on the classes. So remind everybody about the classes that you guys have on a regular basis.
Anna Marie and Abby teach the Women in Retirement class, and our next class is in April. So you can go to merkelplan.com
Okay.
and you can sign up for the class. We teach other classes, Journey to Retirement and Boost.
Boost Your
The
Retirement.
Journey is for those pre-retirees, the Boost is for those already retired, but the women's class is specifically designed for women.
That is awesome.
Great information. As always, thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for
Yes,
being
thank you.
here.